Ancient Athenaeum presents A Dream of Armageddon by H.G. Wells. A deep investigative study. A Dream of Armageddon is one of H.G. Wells's quietest works and one of his most haunting. There are no machines here, no named wars, no scientific marvels. Instead, Wells offers a vision so subdued, so inward, that its terror emerges slowly, like memory itself. This is not a prophecy shouted from a rooftop. It is a warning murmured in sleep. Written at the turn of the century, the story reflects Wells's growing anxiety about Europe's drift toward large-scale conflict. The Boer War was underway. Militarism was becoming normalized. National rivalries were hardening into doctrine. Wells sensed catastrophe long before it had a name. He chose to frame that intuition as a dream. The narrator is an ordinary man, educated, observant, but unremarkable, who experiences recurring dreams of another life. In these dreams, he inhabits a future world on the brink of a vast, unnamed war. Wells never specifies the nations involved. This omission is deliberate. The conflict is not political, it is structural. War, in this story, is not the result of ideology, but of momentum. The dream world is eerily recognizable. It is technologically advanced, socially refined, and culturally confident. Art flourishes. Relationships matter. There is a sense of fragile happiness, earned, not naive. Wells lingers here, allowing the reader to feel the texture of peace before its erasure. This is crucial. He wants us to mourn something before it is lost. At the center of the dream is a love story. The narrator forms a deep, steady bond with a woman, tender, intelligent, grounded. Their relationship is not dramatic. It is humane, domestic, precisely the kind of life that history tends to flatten under statistics. Wells understood that wars are remembered in dates and battles, but lived in kitchens and conversations. As the war approaches, it does so with chilling subtlety. Mobilization is gradual. Language shifts. Patriotism replaces reflection. The machinery of conflict advances without malice, propelled by routine. Wells captures something rarely dramatized: how normal people participate in catastrophe simply by continuing to function. The narrator is swept into service. Communication falters. Certainty dissolves. When the war finally arrives, Wells does not describe battles. He describes disorientation, marches through unfamiliar terrain, the collapse of structure, the sense of being carried by forces too large to resist. Then the dream ends. The narrator awakens in his ordinary present, shaken by grief for a world that does not yet exist, and perhaps never will. He remembers the woman vividly, painfully, as if she were a real loss rather than an imagined one. This inversion is the story's emotional core. The future feels more real than the present because it contains meaning already destroyed. The final realization is devastating in its simplicity. The narrator understands that the dream is not fantasy, but anticipation. The war he has witnessed has not happened yet, but it will. The mechanisms are already in motion. The tenderness he experienced is not immune to history. A Dream of Armageddon is Wells at his most restrained and most prophetic. Unlike the War of the Worlds, which shocks through spectacle, this story devastates through inevitability. There is no villain to defeat, no machine to dismantle. only habits, institutions, and the failure to imagine consequence. In hindsight, the story reads like a premonition of the First World War. Trenches are not described, but their psychological landscape is already present. The confusion, the waste, the sense of being trapped inside a process that has escaped human control. Wells does not end with hope. He ends with awareness. The dream fades, but its meaning remains. The future has already been mourned. The tragedy lies not in ignorance, but in recognition without action. And in that quiet awakening, Wells delivers one of his most chilling truths. The greatest catastrophes do not arrive as surprises. They come as dreams we refuse to take seriously, until we are living inside them.